Hey, this is Katie Frenzy at Bigcommerce Community Hangout once again. Very excited. We've got some really great clients and partners, and Jess and I are here, and it's going to be awesome. So welcome, number one. Please feel free to ask questions throughout this entire session. But today, specifically talking about SEO, best practices, we've got some questions lined up, but we will work in questions from the audience, especially if it's more like best practices around SEO. Specific questions, Jess will actually ask you to post those in the forum so we can come back and help you, including maybe these fellows will come in the forum too and lend some of their advice, we hope anyway. So first and foremost, we actually have Tony here from Website Advantage. Tony, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your relationship with Bigcommerce, experience with SEO? We'd love to learn about you.
Right, I'm about 10 years experience in SEO. I started in it by making a mistake with some clients. And I messed up their website.
Best way to learn, though, right? It's the best way to learn. Make a mistake.
It is. I basically messed up their website for a while. It was down, and so I decided, how can I make up for this? And the solution was SEO. I did a bit of research. In those days, it was title tags. Did a bit of work, and the amount of revenue I increased for them was far more made up for what they lost. And they gave me a free trip to Sydney from it. So it ended up being a bonus, not a downside.
Wow.
So from then on, I kind of realized that it's far more important to help your clients, help businesses do well on the web. And it's not about how fancy your website looks or whatever. It's bottom line stuff. And yeah, 10 years later, I'm doing this as a consultant. And I don't know how long ago I got a client on Bigcommerce, and therefore I started digging into Bigcommerce, and I'm here now.
I love it. Thank you so much. So we also have Ben from Ocean Storm Fishing and Tackle here to lend his expert knowledge and firsthand experience and every infinite wisdom he has. Can you tell us a little bit about you and your website as well? We'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, no problems. Well, we've been trading since 2001. Actually started out when I was about 18 years old with $200 worth of gear. And from there, we've sort of blossomed into a multi-million-dollar business now. And yeah, obviously, SEO's played a big part in that, from starting out small and working our way up to where we are today.
Nice. That's awesome. Like, so cool. And I really enjoyed checking out your site and just seeing what you've done. If you haven't already, Jess will actually chat his URL to you so you can go and kind of take a look around, snoop around while we chat here today. So we're not going to waste any time. We're going to jump right into questions. Again, from the audience, if you're just coming in, feel free to pitch questions. Jess will pitch them to us. If you do have specific questions about your business, we will direct them to the forum and we will get back to you after the session is completed. So, first question. What has SEO meant to the success of your business? I'm actually going to set that up to Ben specifically. So any, what the journey has been like, the overall impact as well. If you have any metrics you're willing to share, just what has it meant to your business overall?
Okay, yep. So obviously I just touched a bit on that, starting from when I was 18 and working our way up from there. Right. And look, it's been an interesting journey, obviously. Yeah. And it's been a learning experience right from the word go. It hasn't been easy. It's always been a hard task, and you've always got to keep on top of things.
Right.
But basically, look, SEO has meant that we're not a small company anymore. We're regarded as a fairly medium-sized company over here in Australia, and turnover is great, business is great, and I've been able to achieve a lot of goals.
Yeah. Like, is there a rough estimate as to like how much your growth or how much of the traffic you get is attributed to SEO? Or do you have like a rough estimate or percentage?
Yeah, look, we sort of average about 3,000 to 4,000 visitors a day, and obviously that's gone from nothing to that level that it is now. That's
awesome. Very interesting. So similar question, but since Tony is a partner, not necessarily for a website overall, but just what does it mean? You look at businesses every day. What does it mean to a business to look at SEO? How important is it to them to actually be successful?
It can be mixed because I work with lots of different clients, and sometimes SEO work can make an instant double, triple of traffic and revenue, whereas in other cases it's quite competitive, so it's a very gradual, hard work. Like Ben, with yours, what was it? A gradual? You just kept working at it and slowly building on your business.
Yeah, look, initially, obviously, when we first implemented SEO, back into your sort of time as well, where it was all metadata, title tags, etc., to get you where you were. Yes, look, we did experience a significant boost, but back then we were quite small too. So overall, yeah, it's been a gradual process to where we are today.
And back then too, I don't think the website was quite as diluted with online stores as well. Would that be correct or no?
Sorry, I didn't catch that. It broke up.
Okay, I was just going to say, back then, because you had started quite a while ago, like 10 years ago or so, was
Yes.
competition for online stores a little bit different as well? That maybe that's why you saw that spike too?
Yeah, look, definitely. There was still some competition, but there was less of it.
Yeah. So either of you guys, like, what do you feel, and maybe Tony, I'm not sure, like, what do you feel is an average for people to actually see a return on investment now with the landscape being as competitive as it is? 6 months, a year for SEO to kind of take hold? It's a lot of factors involved, I get that, but yeah.
It's hard to do an average. It depends where they are at the beginning. If they've done nothing, you can get quite a big instant result just on the key things. Getting their product descriptions unique, so they actually can rank. That sort of thing. But very quick. There's some quick wins that you can do. If they've already done that, then it becomes more of a gradual. And a lot of companies say 6 months because it's an easy figure, but it's continuous. You just keep digging at it, and depending on competition, you're hopefully going upwards and upwards and upwards. But I've actually seen some cases where it's your competitors are doing the same thing.
Right.
So
yeah.
You're on a battle there, and if you stop doing it, you go down.
Yeah.
And probably others, like I've got quite a few local clients, and they reach a plateau. There's only if you just sell, you've got a store and you only sell locally, you've got a limit. Once you've got all the customers, that's it.
Yeah.
So you reach a plateau. Probably Bigcommerce type. They tend to be national type businesses. So there is a lot larger market they can go for.
Right.
But I tend to have quite a few smaller ones. And in fact, Australia isn't a massive market. So if you're in a very small niche, you're in Australia, you can reach a limit of you can't actually get that bigger market share. And that's when you can start cutting down on your efforts and just sustain.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that we saw quite a good uptick with our fishing store, and then we say everyone kind of says 6 months to a year, and I think it's more a thing to kind of appease people that like we really don't know. Everybody's different. You got different products. You're working. Some people are working a lot harder and a lot longer on things. Like it just depends. And of course, no one really likes that answer. So.
No. Same as the answer of I can't guarantee you anything.
Yeah.
If people want the answer, I'll guarantee you number one. And if you dig deep into those answers, and it's all there might be children. It's if you dig deep,
you don't have to keep it too clean. Yeah. Totally want to sway away from those people. Yeah, for sure. So we actually have a question from Susie. Your thoughts on just bumped down. Your thoughts on SEO by having a separate WordPress blog as well as the BC built-in blog. SEO boost from content. How would that work? I know for me, I of course really like the BC blog and having it kind of integrated, but separate blog from your website versus built-in blog. How do you guys feel about that?
Well, we've been using WordPress for a little while until obviously the built-in Bigcommerce blog came about.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're still in the trial and error phase really as to sort of which direction we're going to choose there. I personally think that WordPress has got a better ability and a lot more functions, so it is something.
Built-in functionality. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but look, I think from an SEO point of view, in my opinion, it's going to be better on the website using the Bigcommerce blog rather than a subdomain.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, cool. Tony, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, technically, a subdomain should make no difference. The reality on the technicality thing is, what tends to happen is if you have a separate website than Bigcommerce, is they break all the links. So you might have maybe a homepage link from the Bigcommerce to the homepage of the blog. So they do become different entities and have to work out their own ranking. So my tip is, if you do go separate on WordPress, try and get them well linked together so that they effectively become one entity. Like every page on Bigcommerce links to almost every other page on Bigcommerce,
right.
with your headers and footers and sidebar. But if you suddenly switch out the WordPress, you've disconnected it. So you want to keep that connection going. And if you've got that, it doesn't matter if it's on a different subdomain or halfway around the world, it's still connected. And that's Google looks at the links more than subdomain and alternate domains. And in fact, I'm just working with a client to do a WordPress site on a completely separate domain to their shopping, and it's purely about it's about branding as well. We want WordPress for the power of the blog, the SEO features you can put in, which the Bigcommerce one's a bit lacking in, and we want Bigcommerce for the shopping features. Mm-hmm. So we're deliberately split, and so that there's the one site that's all about the fun about the product and stories about the product and tutorials, and then we send them to the shopping site. And there's no issue doing them separate. Hopefully, Bigcommerce blog will mature over time, and like I think at the moment you can't even do meta title tags or something weird like that. So there's a lot that basic WordPress can do that Bigcommerce is just starting at. It's a little baby there.
Mm-hmm. So especially, I feel like if someone's just starting out, I feel like the built-in blog may be a little bit better, especially if they're new and don't necessarily know all the features and functionalities that a separate blog would be. I feel like that's the safest bet for someone starting, at least. So, but I do like your descriptions of having a subdomain isn't necessarily the most relevant thing. So it's interesting. I love it.
A great thing about Bigcommerce is easy for people to get going with lots of features. Mm-hmm. And so, there's no harm in using the Bigcommerce blog, and it's a lot simpler. Mm-hmm. And Bigcommerce provides the ability, if you ever want to move out, and vice versa. Yeah. It's not that hard. You've got redirects. You've got the ability to move things around if you have to. Just don't do it too much.
Don't do it too much, right? So actually, to wrap up, I was going to say about how important is a blog. Go ahead, Jess. I just want to wrap up on that so we can move on to other topics.
We actually had two quick follow-up questions. One from Susie, directed to Tony specifically, and she had a question asking about what does Tony mean by keeping your Bigcommerce to WordPress very connected if you decide to go with a WordPress blog instead?
Connected as in links. A good proportion of this sort of logic that Google's got is about how websites link together. So an example would be that you'd have the Bigcommerce, whenever you do a new blog, put something on Bigcommerce like a news item pointing to that new blog, and have your WordPress website linking to products that they're promoting, things like that. So you have them constantly linking with each other. Have the headers of the WordPress website promote back to the shopping website, and have the shopping website constantly refer to blog posts. So you've got this strong connection, footer links, header links, and if you've got enough, Google will consider them as the same website. It doesn't matter that much.
Got it. Yeah, so to kind of just wrap up on the blog, if you want to go to the next question for Colin of how important, go ahead, Jess, I'm sorry.
Oh, sure. And this is just kind of a wrapping up on the blog thing, and a great question from Colin in the audience is, how important is a blog to someone who's just starting out?
blogs are all about content. So blogs are, if you can do it, but one thing I know constantly with clients is actually writing them. There's a lot of people who go, yeah, I'm going to write a blog every day, every week, and they never get around to it. So I tend to I don't panic about not having a blog. I push it to the client that if you write about it, then you can rank for it.
Yeah.
But they've got to work on their business and do other things. They've got to keep their products up to date. So it's not a critical thing. It's a value add. If you can blog, brilliant. And if you can blog good stuff, even better.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's it's all about just creating new content for Google to crawl, which of course they're going to see really well, especially again if you do it well. And there's some factors that go into that, but I don't think it's necessarily like vital to anyone's success because some people just don't blog or it's not appropriate for their business, and they do spend time doing other online marketing tactics instead. Would that be right?
Yeah. In fact, because my clients tend to struggle on blogging, I'd rather them focus on helpful articles rather than blogs. So, for example, everybody sells products, and there's lots of things you can help people buy your product with. Writing about, I don't know if it's clothes, how to pick the right size, if it's shoes, all these like how-tos and things. That are not like a blog that disappear over time. They're evergreen, helpful instructions because
that makes the shopping experience easy, right? Just answering people's questions.
Yeah, answering people's questions and things. So they're there permanent. They're more like in Bigcommerce, you call them pages.
Yeah.
And sections of that they're there forever, and they're content which helps you rank, and they're also going to help you make sales. So I'd rather my clients focus on that sort of helpful stuff to make the process easier for the users, instead of, I don't know, blogs which tend to conjure up the mind of latest news, because that's you can churn out these things, but they just disappear into the ether somewhere over time. Whereas constantly helpful stuff, and actually, rule number one: before you blog, write good product descriptions. You've got they're a neutral place. Yeah. Sell your products first, and then start trying to do outside stuff to sell them. I'd say blogging is later on in the list when you're making the million and you got the time.
Yeah. Go for it. You can hire someone to do it for you, right? So kind of piggybacking on that, like blogging, great. Maybe not essential to your business, especially depending on your specific business needs and what your clients or your specific target market is looking for. Product descriptions, essential that they're done well. We've actually got an outstanding question, but what are some like must-dos when you're starting out before you kind of dive into specifics? So they're like when someone's starting an online store, what are like 5 things that they should absolutely rock out? Like, do you guys have suggestions on that?
Well, yeah, look, if you can get a keyword-specific URL, that's going to help. Obviously, like ours, for example, is fishingtackleshop.com.au. You can't get much better than that, but obviously finding a good URL as handy and as good as that's going to be difficult for some. Mm-hmm. But that's like a starting point, is to get a good URL. And then obviously structure your internal links as you go along when you're building categories and pages, etc., to be keyword specific.
So can you talk a little bit about that for people who might not know what that means, structuring your links?
Okay, so look, you don't want to have a category called ABC, for example. You want to title it well. So, for example, our site will sell fishing reels, fishing rods. You want to keep it specific like that. In my opinion, and also do keyword research as well to find out what people are searching for, the volumes, etc. So a good tool for that is the Google Keyword Planner, and then go from there.
I check Google Keyword Planner every time I do a blog post for BC.
Yeah, definitely.
I love it. And it's actually it's free. So something came up. A client called tech support, and I was chatting with one of our ninjas, and they're like, "It's paid now. I can't believe it." And it's actually not. they'll ask you to enter in it to start an AdWords campaign, but you can actually enter in 0 or 1 cent. They won't require for you to pay for it, though, so you can still access the tool for free. Just to kind of clarify that. It's been a big point of confusion. They've made some changes lately if you're not grandfathered in. So huge. I love that tool. It's phenomenal. Phenomenal. So anything else? You got product descriptions, really good categorization, keyword-specific URL, or just a really strong URL that's memorable. Anything else that people should do when they're first starting?
Make sure all your title tags are right. It's pretty much a must, particularly on your key pages. Start with your key pages and then work out to your less key pages, your product pages, etc.
What would you say would be key pages to start out?
Your home page is your number 1, and then you go to the category pages. Your product pages, usually you can leave that blank. Bigcommerce will fill in the product name as part of the title automatically. So I mean, it should be worked at and looked at, but it's not the most important. I'd start with the home page, and then your most key pages, your category pages.
Interesting. Tony, you have any thoughts?
Yeah, well, that's great stuff from Ben. One other area which constantly comes up when you're first starting is people tend to come from another website, another system, and then they're on the forums going, why have I lost all my traffic? So I think a key thing right from the beginning is you've got to have a migration plan, which is your 301 redirects, or Bigcommerce just calls them redirects to keep it simple, but they are the same. You can't just throw away your old website, put Bigcommerce in place, and expect things to carry on as they were before. You have to have this migration plan, set up redirects from your old products to your new products. So that's the biggest gotcha I keep seeing. That's when people see traffic go, whoa.
They're like, where did it all go? I don't understand what's happening. Yeah, it's kind of a
And you
main
basically
piece.
just moved house and not told anybody.
Yeah. I think we use marketing too, like as you make that switch and start pointing over your 301 redirects as well, so that it's, if someone comes to your original page, they'll take it to the new one. It's a little wonky at first, but it's going to help with that dip for sure. I think that's hugely valuable. Yeah.
Sometimes you get no dip at all. If you get things in place at the beginning, you wouldn't even know. It just goes like that. Sometimes you get a bit of a dip and a back up, but if you don't do it, you get flatline.
And there's outside of SEO, I mean, you can do some email marketing to your existing lists and promote people to come, so you don't see that dip and have that lull in your revenue stream or anything. So good stuff. I'm seeing some questions come through. Jess, do you want to field some of those from the audience?
Absolutely. We have let's do one. We have one question, another question from Susie, and one question from Lynn. Since Susie's question is a little bit more relevant to one thing that was just said, let's start with hers, which is, what did Ben say about the pages that need to be named right? Did he say page titles, and what specific field is he talking about? I believe that was when you were talking about both title tags and the internal links in the category, on category pages, right?
Yeah, that's right. You want to make sure that your title tag is filled in correctly. And if you can structure your link correctly as well, using those keyword-specific words is pretty much where you want to start.
Awesome. Thank you so much for clarifying. And let's go on to Lynn's question, as she's been waiting patiently as well. And it kind of touches more on keyword research. Lynn wants to know, is there a limit on the number of search keywords Google uses or raising your search tags within your Bigcommerce story?
No, I think years back there was a study that Google said that I think only 25% or 30% of actual searches have ever been done before. And I guess we need to define the difference between keywords and actual queries. Keywords are just what we as marketers are picking on. We're saying I'm going to target this keyword, but the reality is we're trying to match them up with what the queries people make. So there might be, for one keyword that you target, there might be 100 different search terms that are closely matched to that. No, there's no limit. Google looks at your content, doesn't think about keywords in your sense of the word, Google just looks at your content, matches queries to it. So, but some people say only target 3 keywords on a page. The reality of that is make your page focused on a subject. Don't have a single page that covers 20 different subjects. In Bigcommerce, it's quite natural. You have a product, so that product will focus on that product. You'll do a single article on a single subject. With your keyword research, what I tend to do, and I loved Katie's thing about go in and do the keyword tool on a new article. You can even actually put in a URL and it'll suggest keywords to you. So it'll actually crawl the page and suggest them. And then look at the suggestions and go, can I use those words in my article? Because that's what people are, they're the words people use. So I'd go less on this idea of keyword and just think about concepts and subjects. And the rest will come naturally.
Sorry, I think that is a really good point to use. Is like, how do people speak about your product, service, educational materials? Like, you might think your clients are referring to it as X, and actually they're referring it, as Y, and you're like, okay, wait, I actually need to speak about it in this fashion to be found by my audience because they're looking for me in this way. And that's like such a point. So thank you for saying that.
Yeah, in fact, I've got a classic example from before I went solo on this. Was a client was selling cars, and he had his website, and he wanted to be all la-di-da and fancy, so he was selling pre-owned cars. And so I go into the Google keyword tool, and it goes pre-owned cars, numbers of searches 0, used cars thousands. So you go to him and go, can you just say used car instead? So just a simple thing like that can make a massive difference. Like nowadays, Google's quite clever, and it understands that pre-owned is very similar to used, but used is exactly
I think
used.
that statement in and of itself has kind of changed the game entirely, especially for amateurs or people just coming into the space. That Google now understands synonyms, so it's pretty neat.
Yeah, and actually another one on what Ben was saying about the categories, and with keyword research as well helps, is again you want to focus on how your customers categorize things, not how you do. So you've got a natural way of categorizing based on how you store them in a storeroom, but your customers might think of it in a different sort of grouping. So your keyword research might unveil that and give you the ideas of what category titles you should use and how you should group them. For example, some businesses might have 3 different types of customers. In the industry, we call them personas. You might have someone at home, a business, and what would be a third? I don't know, government. And they've all got their different, they're coming in with a different viewpoint, a different angle. And so you've got to kind of think on that end. And a list of just raw categories might not suit them. You might want to have a top-level category, which is for people at home, for people in businesses, to help them discover what they're looking for, not how you present it. And keyword research should unveil that sort of knowledge of. You can start getting groupings of types of searches, and yeah, the bottom line is you want to see what your customers are doing and focus towards them. And
Good. We have some questions from the audience. I'm going to pitch one more so maybe we can answer a few audience questions at the same time. So do you guys have any, as far as like homepage, product page, category pages, brand pages, do you guys have any tips and tricks that you're like, oh, this is such a no-brainer, why don't people, if you're willing to divulge your tricks anyway, this is such a no-brainer for your product pages when it comes to SEO. Is there anything that like you wish newbies knew and it just hurts you when you see people do it incorrectly?
Well, I guess it sort of doesn't hurt me so much, but some tricks and tips of the trade that I'd sort of say is try to beat your competitors before they beat you. So one thing I've noticed, particularly lately, as you know, from when I've started to where I am today, is that if you don't beat your competitor, they get in first, and it's a lot harder to get up to those top level rankings. So you want to get your content right. You want to get it up there as soon as you possibly can. If there's a new product release, get it up there. Another thing is don't simply copy your supplier's content as well, because that's just a no-no. That's a Google penalty there. It's duplicate content. You want to make it completely unique from what your supplier's website says.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, yeah, go through and not so much worry about keyword density. I don't think it's that important, but it's just about the quality of the content and how you scatter that in a natural manner.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's my points anyway.
Yeah, don't overthink it and pay attention to your competition. I love it. That actually kind of goes to Susie's question here. She has product descriptions and having them be unique. You know, it does hurt if you've got a bunch of duplicate content, and I don't know, you know, Google and search engines do as they will, but if you do have duplicate content, they will ping you for it. It's basically like cheater, you're copying and pasting from other people, we're not going to rank you accordingly. So it can make a big difference, in my opinion. I don't know how you guys feel about duplicate content overall, but
it's not exactly like that. There's kind of two levels to it. There's what you're talking about, which is stealing content.
Which is, sorry, what?
Stealing content, so copyright infringement, that sort of stuff, which Google's got an algorithm called Panda, and it's what they call their quality algorithm. And if your website overall is deemed low quality, and there's a lot of factors like thin pages, if you don't bother with product description, that's low quality. If your product description is taken from the manufacturer, that's low quality. If your product description is exactly present on 100 different websites, that's low quality. And so, as an overall, if Google if you get below this threshold, the Panda threshold, then you will be demoted in search results as being a low quality website. So that's one angle on it, and one good reason not to just copy people's stuff. It mainly targets scrapers, people who just steal content all the time just to try and rank. Now the other one is just general duplication, and there is no penalty, and there's nothing wrong with duplicate. Google says you can duplicate, that's fine. But what they also say is in any particular search result, they will not show two duplicates on the same search result. So say you copied the manufacturer and someone searches, you're in direct competition with your manufacturer because it's exactly the same content.
Sure.
Google's going to pick you, the manufacturer, or the other 1,000 websites copying the manufacturer, and then remove everybody else from the search result. What are the odds it's going to be you?
Not so good.
So it's a major strong thing is if you duplicate, you're going to get filtered out. You're not going to get punished, but you're not going to show up in the search results because you're not showing anything original. Google has no reason to show you and the other 100 in the same result. So you get it's called a duplicate filter, and so it's another good reason to write original stuff. And so, for example, if you've done an original product description, you can actually sit alongside the manufacturer in the search results. Whereas if you copied the manufacturer, you'd be taken out. You'd be filtered out. And I guess the marketing side that's good is if you've got an original description, when people are doing their shopping, they're going to do their comparison shopping. And they're going to look at they're going to find 7 websites, exactly the same description, and so the only way to distinguish is price. They're going to get the cheapest, and the one that does the free shipping, or the one that does all the distinguishment. But if your description's different, if you provide more information, they'll get emotionally involved with you, and they might just buy from you because you triggered something. They're not going to get involved with you if you're saying exactly the same message as everybody else. So there's lots of reasons to be unique.
Got it. Thanks for. I feel schooled. I love it. That was like a very big misconception I've had forever. So thanks for that. Everyone's just like, duplicate content. I'm like, yes, it's a bad thing, and yes. So
yeah,
there you go.
Can I just add that look, one way that will help in providing a bit of unique content is providing some benefits of the products, which is what we do a lot of. Like, you'll have your generic descriptions from your suppliers, but if you can get in and dig a little bit deep and further and just explain to your customers what the actual benefits are of those features and the benefits of the products, and why you should shop with your store as well, that's going to help you.
Love it.
Yeah, that's great. I often hear the term describe benefits, not features. Again, it's like categorizing to how your store works. You want to do what your customers want, and they want to know benefits. They want to know why that product. And a list of features, wishy-washy. But if you say you will save 50% of your costs, that's a benefit. That's
a holy cow metric, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you guys very much. I'm actually going to turn it over to Jess for the questions that are in the queue from the audience. Go for it, girl.
Let me unmute myself for a second. Okay, one quick question also from Susie as well is, so she had a question specifically about going back to the keyword research. Do we use the queries that we see through Google Webmaster Tools in our within when we're trying to do keyword research within our store? And are we penalized for using the same words typed into our search? Like, are we penalized? I guess she's trying to phrase on that one. And correct me. Feel free to add in your question below as well. But are we penalized for using the same keyword, going after the same keyword on multiple pages?
There's a word for that. I think it's called something like keyword cannibalization. You don't get penalized, but the concept is that you're competing with yourself. And so it'd be more optimal to have one page and make it really strong on a particular subject, rather than having multiple pages that are all trying to target the same thing. So yeah, there's no penalty, but it's worth considering how you group your content. A page per subject is generally a good idea. I thought great thing on the Google Webmaster Tools is I often, once you've got some data, Google Webmaster Tools will give you an idea on the keywords you're already, or search terms, queries, I'm mixing them up, that you're already ranking well in. And you can even do a kind of cross relation to which pages are ranking for which keywords. And with that data, you can actually go, sometimes you'll look and you'll say, this page is ranking for these queries, but I'm not particularly talking about them for that page. So what happens if I actually refocus the page to what it's already doing well at, to boost it even higher? So the data you get from Google Webmaster Tools is quite powerful. I sometimes use it to change my title tags, to go, if I'm showing up for this particular query term, I want my listing to match what they're looking for. So if you make your title and description focus on the terms again that the user is doing, you've got a better chance of a click-through rate, a higher click-through rate. So yeah, I love using Google Webmaster Tools, especially with ongoing optimization, continuously improving your articles to focus on the users that are looking for them.
Awesome.
Great answer, and we actually have a follow-up question from Quick Boy Mods. When you fill in, and this should be a quick one, when you fill in the meta title, will that become the H1 tag and replace your page's product title?
Not unless it's messed up. But the title tag is, you've got it hidden under the search engine optimization section, isn't it?
Mhm.
Whereas your product heading, H1, should be the actual name of the product, I think, on most themes. So this, but if you don't bother with a title, it becomes your product name. So I'd make a policy of, whenever you add a new product, always go into the SEO section and fill that out before you forget.
Cool. Jess, you want to hit that last one?
Sure. And we have another question from Susie. Thank you so much for tuning in, Susie. You are full of some awesome questions. How important is the image file name for Google image searches compared to the image description in Bigcommerce?
Or I'll have to check on the terminology you use in Bigcommerce. There's a thing called a title attribute, which has no, or people believe no, SEO influence, and all it does is cause a tooltip to, if you hover over an image, it shows some text. I generally tell people never fill that in, blank it out. Unless you've got something important to say to people, keep it blank. The one that is more important is called the alt attribute, which...
For clarification, it is called an image description on Bigcommerce, but it's an alt attribute.
So you call it,
yeah.
So the image description becomes the alt attribute. So the image description is more important. This is what they call an accessibility feature. Basically, it's for people who can't see images. So visually impaired people and Google. So what that should contain is something that describes what the image contains. And so you can help Google understand what the image is about, and you can help visually impaired people read your pages. In fact, a lot of people, well, a few visually impaired people tend to use these readers. It reads the page out loud to them, and it will read out that description to that person so they know about the image. Don't spam it. Don't fill it with keywords. Describe the image. Say picture of cats or whatever it is. Something that's gives Google and these people a good idea what the image is about. And it'll help you in image searches.
Orange floral scarf, or scarf. You know what I mean? Like just a couple words, right?
Yeah. Someone did a study on the number of words that Google indexed. I think it ended up being 20, but that's not the point. You put enough information in to explain what it's about, and that's all. Don't do too much, because imagine someone sitting there with their thing reading out the page, and then they've got to read out 7 paragraphs about a picture.
Got it. I'm asking a quick question to technical support because I'm like 99% confident in myself. So Susie, hold tight on the last half of that question. But Jess, do you want to move on to that last one, and then we'll kind of wrap up with metrics and how to know if you're on the right track with SEO.
Absolutely. I hear the phrase title tag used a lot, but do they usually mean page title? In about 98% of cases, yes, that's the same thing within our system.
Cool. Now for the last half of the question from Susie on image descriptions or alt tags, you can use our import-export feature. So our new control panel, but so if you do an import-export, you'll go into a CSV, look for the field that says image description, and you can update all of them, even ones that are existing on your site, no problem. And if you have problems with that, you can always contact technical support or post in our forum, and we can help you out too. So cool. All right. Well, let's go ahead. We've kept these fellows very, very long. So what metrics and key indicators, anything, do you recommend monitoring to make sure you're on the right track with SEO? Like, what are you checking every day to make sure you're doing the right thing?
Well, personally, I use Moz Analytics. I find that's a pretty good tool to use, and you can get lots of recommendations as to what's going on in your pages. Get page grades as well. You can give them a specific URL in this tool, and it will grade your page from pretty much A to F, and give you some tips and advice of what to do. Google Analytics is often a good thing to use as well, just to monitor what's going on and bounce rates, exit rates, etc.
Right.
Just making sure you're on the right track. And yeah, that's pretty much the two things that we use as the major part of our driving force there.
Cool.
Yeah, with Google Analytics, I recommend setting up goal tracking and conversion tracking, so you can actually see get down dollar value for visitors. So we could probably refer to, there's a Bigcommerce article on how to set up the conversion tracking.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can work out maybe like how many dollars you make per customer or visitor and things like that, and dig deeper, especially if you're using something like AdWords. You want to know how you're spending money, and you want to know how much money you're getting back from it. So adding those extra tracking things into analytics is great. And I'm a big one for Google Webmaster Tools. It tells you if you've got problems. You can find broken links. You can. It's a great tool for maintenance and optimization.
Love it. All favorites. Fantastic. Let's see. Do we have any outstanding questions from the audience, Jess, before we let these nice gentlemen go?
We had one specific question from. We had one specific question from Colin where he says he wants to know a little bit more about Moz Analytics. And actually am going to tell him we would be happy to answer more about that as well as any of the analytics tools within our forum. So if you actually want to post that question within forum.bigcommerce.com/F10, and that will take you to our search page, and we'll be happy to answer that there.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, any outstanding questions or things that come up later on after you've watched this or seen this, please feel free to go to forum.bigcommerce.com, and we'll go ahead and help you out there, no problem at all. So thank you guys so much for your time today. We've kept you very long. Very much appreciate it. Anything else you'd like to add before we head out today?
I'm pretty sweet, yeah. I think we're cool.
Yeah. We could just sit here and pick your brains all day, right? So thank you so much for lending us your brains and your expertise. Really appreciate it. And
thank you so much.